Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nerds and Nonsense. And today we're going to be discussing horror movies. Good ones, bad ones, subgenres,
Yeah,
what we
so
like, what we don't like.
yeah, believe it or not, we actually like some horror movies.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I find it kind of like the most boring kind of movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for jump scares, but I'm more for
Yeah.
a good story. Like a good
Right.
plot to it. Not just like
Right.
senseless killing, kind of just going around trying to get the killer or find out who the killer is, all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Yeah. And I'm not, I don't scare easy.
yeah,
So I'm not really watching it to be like creeped out or like to cover my eyes. But I think like I like a good ghost story.
yeah,
Something good, supernatural or psychological.
yeah.
I get a kick out of that.
I mean, yeah, it's like same way for me. Like, and I'm not trying to find a movie where it's like the how's the killer kill somebody else this time? Oh, it's they haven't been run over by a car, or they haven't been
Right.
stabbed this way, or
Right.
So,
Right.
so
There's so many. I just like to name off a few. What Final Destination, Scream, Alien. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
yeah,
Especially the classic ones like Jason, Friday the 13th.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot that's out
I
there.
never got into it as a kid, and never really got into it when I was older. I saw maybe Scream 3,
Yeah.
but it was kind of lame. But then they kept making more of them, and then it's this different killer now. I think they
Yeah.
made it a show too. I think, and then a movie. Yeah,
So I got
so
a genre that just wouldn't stop. Even
yeah.
Final Destination, I felt like they made too many of those.
Yeah, I mean, how many times can you get to a destination?
I know, right?
I guess they should be calling it Infinity Destination, right?
Right.
Not
Right.
Final Destination.
But we're not quite there yet. We have another sequel.
Yeah. So, um, let's talk about some of the horror movies that you might like.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's funny because like I tend to like the sci-fi sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Alien, I think, is definitely a genre that maybe there's been a little too much. Like there were definitely some sequels that were kind of pointless, but I think it really revolutionized a lot of things that he made space for. Even like Pitch Black, which is like
Mhm.
um, with Vin Diesel. That's kind
Yeah,
of
it's
where
with
he
Vin
got
Diesel, right? Yeah,
he got
yeah,
his
no,
start
yeah.
having like being like a main role in that one, and that was that same sort of like in the middle of space, no one could hear you scream.
Scream,
It's
gotcha.
funny in the '70s when they first marketed Alien, like they just had like this image of like space, and like that was the thing they said, and then that was like the teaser, and then they showed like an
Oh, so they
alien.
didn't actually show the alien itself,
Not at all.
Oh, that's good.
And it made a huge amount of buzz. It was almost like another famous one, Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Blair Witch was like the most cheapest done horror movie on earth, but they advertised it and marketed it so well,
Yeah.
telling everyone you're going to be scared if you watch it, and then people all bought tickets, and then they found out they weren't very scared.
Yeah, because I thought originally the concept is kind of based off real events, right? But not it wasn't like a real thing that happened, right?
But
Yeah.
at the same time, it was the start of the era of like reality sort of programming,
Yeah.
where people actually would pay money to see something someone filmed with a home video camera.
Yeah.
It was also the dawn of like internet marketing, so they had websites that people would click and go to, and it didn't really give you a whole much because it was just purely promotion. So yeah, I think one of the things is like the suspense is what really drives horror movies and
Yeah.
the horror genre.
I saw the second one on like cable or something, man, and
Mhm.
that was just awful.
The second
the second Blair Witch movie.
I forgot they made a second one. It was
Yes.
that bad.
That was bad. Yeah, you kind of just blink it out of your mind. But I was
Yeah.
watching it. It didn't make any sense. It was
Uh-huh.
just like senseless killing and kind of more of like possession of bodies, and like
Yeah.
he's like, I didn't do that, and like I'm like that acting 2001, I'll give it that, but like
Yeah.
man, that was just bad. It's
Yeah.
like I was just laughing the whole time. That probably would have happened if I was in theaters too.
They gave birth to a genre, though. I want to say, what was the one that Michael B. Jordan started out with as a Chronicle? That has
I
like the
think so.
kids with
The powers?
superpowers.
Yeah.
So I think it feels like Blair Witch gave birth to that sort of production style. But I think I one of the things I think when it comes to horror, the genre really starts out as a very B movie sort of genre. You don't need a lot of production to make a good horror movie. Like you just need like to have good suspense and storytelling and like gross
Yeah.
special effects.
Yeah, I don't think Blair Witch would do well today. To be honest with you, I don't think so. It's just
Yeah.
a remake of that. No, I mean
Yeah.
it's been done. I mean, what can you do with it? Like
Yeah.
it's like all the camera shaking. Like to be
Yeah.
like honest with you, when I watched Cloverfield, I had to leave the movie and throw up because
yeah.
it shaked too much. Like
It was
this is
too much.
yeah, it's just if
Yeah.
the whole movie's just through all that and
Yeah.
moving around like it's just
And I think it's gotten much more sophisticated over the years, the genre for
yeah.
horror. So like when we think about when you think about like Alien has gotten huge into like there's comics. There's like when you looked at like the art production was really high end. Prometheus was I enjoyed Prometheus. I
So
thought
I
that
haven't
was a
seen
good
that one yet. Check that one out.
They did a good job with it. And it just made some earmarks for things. I think some of my other favorite horror movies was Event Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And like because I think when you take space and you take like the whole idea of being isolated, like that's a great setup for it. And that's like about like a haunted spaceship sort of thing. Then another one was Sunshine, which is about like a guy kind of going mad and like killing everyone on the spaceship. So I think space and horror kind of go together. It's about the unknown and like the anxiety people have.
It's not your typical like on Earth running away from a typical serial killer and all that stuff, right? So
yeah, haunted house movies don't do a whole lot for me.
One of my favorite horror movies is the movie Shudder, the Thai version, not the American version.
Oh, yeah.
It has is it Joshua Jackson was in the American version? It was just bad.
Was it bad?
Yeah, but I believe you can find it on YouTube. If
Okay.
you can look it up, just Thai Shudder version. But the whole scare factor was there. Like the story was just like so in depth.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to say anything and ruin it, but it's just like it was creative for its time. Like there's like bullying in it, and of course if you remember any of that, it's just kind of concept that comes back to haunt you if you don't do certain things.
Yeah.
And the shutter refers to a camera shutter. When you take a photo, like
Okay.
that. So, but that's probably all I'll say about it. But
it's kind of like the video game Final Frame way back when.
Yeah. So, but have you seen Shutter though?
I haven't.
Oh.
I'll have to watch that one.
Yeah, it's really good. I forgot who recommended it to me, but I thought you actually did, but I forgot. But it's actually really good. Yeah, don't ever watch the American version. Don't they Americanize it too? They put certain concepts of it in there, but then they started just putting other random things in there first. Like didn't make any sense, So
yeah, I gotta say, like, definitely. When it comes to like a lot of the Japanese ones, the original one was like usually kind of the best delivery. I think maybe only in the case of like The Ring, I think they really kind of improved it when they did like the first American version because the effects aren't so they're very still B movie in a lot of Japanese horror movies. I think probably the creepiest one that I saw that was a Japanese horror movie was actually The Audition by a director named Takeshi Miike. I think he also directs Tokyo Gore Police. And he's famous for like the grotesque, like blood splurting everywhere, of like over the top, Japanese horror film. And Audition just had like really creepy moments, and at the same time, you had this backdrop of a director and like him auditioning people to be cast for something. So I think that's the thing. It was really good at like kind of nailing like the anxiety. And when you do that, if you can capture anxiety in a movie and you don't need a crap load of special effects, or if it's anxious enough, you could kind of like be cheap on it. It makes for like a good film. And that's probably why
I'm more for a good storyline,
Yeah.
how the actors interact with each other like that. That's more for me, because I don't need a lot of gore, a lot of things like a good backstory like that. Kind of intrigue me, like kind of figure it out. I don't really care, they're trying to look for the killer and all that stuff too, like who it is, but like put some mystery behind it. Don't make it so like kind of obvious or all that kind of stuff, So
right. I have to say probably one movie that was like kind of stereotypical, but like it really, as a kid, it actually gave me nightmares. Was Bram Stoker's Dracula,
the original one? Yeah. Okay.
The one that had Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder in it, and with Olsen, Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yeah. That one actually, because it was so historic, it kind of made me feel like I was really watching something classical and old, and then it got really freaky, and then I think that's what worked for me. Yeah, definitely that one.
For me, one of my other favorite horror movies was the original Saw movie.
Oh yeah.
Not the sequels or any of the new remake. It was innovative for its time. Trapping somebody in an enclosed space and then trying to figure out how to escape and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the person is in that position because they were they did bad deeds and stuff they caught, and like would they willing to kill the other person in order to get out and all that kind of stuff. And then they had to go through it's just like a mind fuck kind of through the whole thing. It kind of makes you think, and then like I tried to watch the second one. Now it just became kind of a cash grab. Like, okay, now it's not even creative anymore. Now it's just like the same concept with more people.
Yeah.
And then after that, but the first one was like great. I was innovative. It kept me guessing the entire time. I like that. Like makes you think to the end. Like, what happens and all that
Yeah.
kind of, so that
It,
I
it
really
kind of
enjoyed it.
merges the survival with like the horror thing. I
Yeah.
think, especially like with just like the serial killer thing. I think of course, the very first one that ever did it was probably what, like Silence of the Lambs,
Hmm.
which actually I was
Look at the blood.
yeah, I was never old enough to watch that. I still don't know if I ever actually watched it. I need to do my homework.
I saw that. Remember seeing it, and I just remember looking at the blood
Okay.
part. I keep telling you that tomorrow.
And then I think well, the follow up for that was really huge was Seven.
Yeah, Seven.
And that really kind of gave the whole psychology of understanding, trying to understand the killer, and then it kind of led to other movies like The Cell.
Yeah.
Was the same sort of one with I'm about to say J Lo, but Jennifer Lopez at the time
It's
before
correct.
she had the marketing.
Before she shortened it down, right?
I know, right? And then I want to say one of the favorite areas of kind of horror suspense, which isn't so much as horror as it is mostly just suspense, is that survival thriller.
Hmm.
And Japan also again gets a lot of credit for that because one of the major ones that was like banned in the USA was Battle Royale.
Oh, I love
And
that
Battle
movie.
Royale wasn't so much a scary sort of horror thing with ghosts or monsters as much it was the fact that you had a bunch of kids who were put on an island and they had to duke it out and survive.
Yeah.
And that was actually kind of terrifying because you're like, well, I thought that character was really cool, and oh gosh, he had to die that way. And then like that kind of gave birth, like people. I'm sure you saw Squid Game, right?
Actually, I have not.
You have not.
I just
Okay.
not really interested me. Yeah,
So Squid Game it falls into that same sort of
Mhm.
genre. There's another one called Alice in Borderlands, which is like a more of a Japanese centric sort of similar like game to the death sort of thing. And like I say that falls into horror because no one wants to be in that. It gives you anxiety. It's uncomfortable. It's gory.
Yeah, it makes you kind of think a little bit more. Like what would you do in that situation? Would you kill a classmate or something? What would you do to survive? Like
Right.
it's more psychological, which I like. It
Right.
makes you think and guess to the end. It's not really like I mean, in some of those other ones, you kind of guess like, oh, you might not know who the killer is, but it's like, well,
Right.
either the killer didn't die or
Right.
it was just somebody that you already knew, right?
Right.
So
Whereas in this case, the fear is that everyone's gonna be the killer,
yeah,
and like no one wants to be the killer. So, and that's the most horrible thing. Like you as a viewer knowing that you're gonna be guilty at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, guilt is a major fear, right?
Yeah.
I think those do a good job of that.
One of my other favorite horror movies was the American version, The Grudge. Oh, in one of these cases, it's the American version. I liked it.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I saw the Japanese one, right?
Okay, I think maybe I saw
Ju-on, right? It was Ju-on.
Ju-on.
Yeah.
Ju-on.
But I actually liked it. It had some pop-up scares. It was the kid was kind of spooky.
Yeah.
I kind of liked Sarah Michelle. Wait, was Sarah Michelle Gellar in the first one?
She was. I
In
think
the second
she
one?
was,
Yeah, first
she
one.
was it the first remake? I think
Yeah,
she's in
yeah.
the first remake.
Yeah, but then I liked it. It was, I think it kind of stayed true to the source material. Wasn't too didn't use too much CGI. It kind of used a lot of psychological thinking and all that kind of more. So that's why I kind of liked it more.
The first Ju-on was almost like a student film.
Yeah.
It wasn't impressively done. I think it just had really creepy elements, like the whole body in the bag and like the guy hitting the bag.
Simple enough, right? But it did its job, right? Like you don't need, like I said, don't need a lot of CGI, not a lot of blood squirting and creative kind of killing, but it did its job. I enjoyed it. I think they made 3 of them, right?
Probably.
I think it
It's
kind of died
Hollywood.
out. Yeah, it kind of died down, right?
I think one of the things that I'd like to kind of bring up that was really cool that came out during Halloween was Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that in our other video.
In
Yes,
our Halloween
yes,
special.
yes,
Yeah, make sure you watch that one. You like it.
Or what we were watching, I think.
Or what we were
yes,
watching,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I think you mentioned that already.
And the thing is, when you think about how he approached a set of different stories that have different, writers and directors, like not all of them were gory, not all of them were like, super horrible. But at the same time, it kind of takes it back a bit to like Alfred Hitchcock, who was like one of the original creators of like suspense horror in the 50s and the 60s. And when you think about movies like Vertigo, or you think about movies like, oh gosh, what's the name of the one where it has like the Bates Motel on top of the hill?
Psycho?
Psycho,
Yeah.
yeah. Like those were the ones that really set it up. Or Birds is like a terrifying one because it's like, So I think when we think about like what makes a good horror or scary movie, you know, we have to think about those. I think like in high school there were the over top ones like House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
And like those were fun. It kind of took you to that rock and roll, like
Yeah.
super overdone horror, and you have like the really hot chick and she's just dying, and then like, you know, the main character who gets out like with like the other kind of side character, and like everyone dies, and you know, it's those are fun, but you always have to kind of go back to the source material,
Yeah.
and you make a good production.
One
I
of the
think.
guilty pleasures I have about the horror movies, the one I like was Paranormal Activity, the first one.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like, you know, I took the whole gang. We went to go watch that and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and it was filmed in San Diego too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in
Okay.
Poway or something, a nice ritzy area.
okay,
But just kind of like the jump scares, and then actually being in the theater and hearing people kind of freak out.
yeah,
That's kind of get
Yeah.
you. But you know, like the other ones, you kind of just like it's all quiet till someone gets killed, but then you see, you know, the bed she's kind of moving slowly. Oh my god, you're freaking out, like
Yeah.
something ghost like. You know, it's
yeah,
I know it's like not most like, you know, it was like kind of an independent film that turned really big.
yeah.
But then you know, just the concepts of it kind of freaks you out a little bit, you know. But just the first one, not the 5 other ones that came after it, you know. So now they kind of just kind of milked it, you know, a little bit. So that was kind of
Yeah.
it wasn't like a movie that was really made at the time, you know. But you
Yeah.
know, you know, like the original one, that was it, and I'll leave it at that, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. I think there's a certain era, like, you know, especially when we're teenagers and everything's like horribly predictable. We want to have something that surprises us, and I think the horror genre does that with
Yeah,
suspense.
I have another one with the. I haven't seen a lot of those exorcism movies, but
Oh,
I saw
yeah.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose like way back in the day.
Yeah,
And I know it's based on true events and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
too. But I don't aren't they all though, you know? So
yeah,
but this one, it just kind of because I was gonna go watch it, but
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed it. You know, it was really freaky. Like the actor did a really good job and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I think that that the father was supposed to try to help with the exorcism too, but he didn't do his part, and the girl ended up dying. You know, so he
Okay.
ended up going to prison for serve time in prison
Wow.
for that. You know, so
Wow.
I guess he didn't do enough or something that caused her to die. You know, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like a
Interesting
good-
backstory.
yeah, right. A story that
Right.
real events. Like, okay, that's something I haven't heard about before. So that that
Yeah.
caught my eye. You know?
As a
So-
kid, I think all of it freaked me out. Like Jason and Friday the 13th and Candyman and
Yeah.
all those like
Hellraiser,
Poltergeist,
yeah.
Hellraiser.
it, you know.
They're all terrifying. It's like turn off the TV, turn the
Yeah.
light on. I don't want to sleep in the dark.
Yeah, I remember that thing where it says like, don't go into the bathroom at night and say Bloody Mary 5 times and then
Right.
crawl out the window. And I was terrified to go brush my teeth at night. I didn't
those,
watch
like,
it, but
little kids at school would bring up things like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you think like the horror genre is kind of like played out like these sequels or the kind of falling flat?
I think I don't know if it's falling flat or played out or if it's just like the nature of the market. I think there are people who like to be scared. They
Mhm.
live for being
Yeah.
scared. And I think the reason why they get into this whole sequel mess is because there are people who just repeat, scare me again. You know, they don't learn their lesson. Like I don't want to say sheeple or anything like that. But I think as people get more sophisticated and there's more to choose from like, you know, watching movies at home and things like that, like no one's going to want to go outside to a movie theater and spend money to be uncomfortable. You know, that's cost too much. I think people
Yeah.
rather do that at home. I think maybe when you do have like teenagers or young people who are like, hey, I have enough money from allowance or my part-time job, I want to go hang out with my friends. Like there's gonna have those, you know, we're all gonna watch a scary movie together sort of thing. And in those instances, people aren't really scared. They're just really happy they're out with their friends and they're having popcorn and they're saying, oh, did you see that? No, yeah, so-and-so reacted this way. You know, it's more of a reaction sort of thing. But unfortunately, reactions these days are on TikTok. Oh,
Yeah. Everything's spoiled online. Yeah,
You
so it's
know.
like the whole scare factor maybe out of it. That's probably why. I kind of look
Yeah.
at it as like, there's like a template of for scary movies. Of course, there's like American template for scary movies. Like
Okay.
you have your killer, right, and you have some backstory where they were, traumatized or something, whatever happened, and then there's a protagonist, and then the killer comes back and tries to kill everybody, and then the protagonist survives. And the killer kills a bunch of the people around the protagonist, and all of a sudden they find a way to kill the killer, but they're not really necessarily dead. So that's out there. Unless you're like a hardcore fan of these movies,
Yeah.
then you go see the movies. Kind of like how we like to go see the Marvel movies a lot, but
Right.
the thing about that, it's consistent, and then like stories are different, and so I think people are more into that. They'll tend to spend more money to go see that instead of like a horror movie that's going to be rehashed and like
Right.
Halloween Kills. We'll send Jamie Lee Curtis will come back again, like to bring back the nostalgia factor. Like, well,
Right.
she can't kill in the first 5 movies, and how many things kill her in this movie, right?
And I think
So-
the thing is, like, certain franchises are so big that they're just like X-Men or something like that.
Yeah.
I think maybe they need to do more marketing or something like that for other merchandise. But like, I definitely think one of my favorites, Sam Raimi, who's big, especially for Spider-Man, was even bigger because he did Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
And Evil Dead is such a crazy over-the-top one. Actually, there's a really funny one that I watched recently that's similar to it called Bingo Hell, which is about like old people being pulled in by some supernatural devil-like creature into this like zombifying bingo hall, and like they all have like these crazy deaths because they got greedy,
Yeah.
but like whereas it has the over-the-top gore and slime and ooze, and like monsters that have like scary makeup, like I think that's definitely a franchise sort of genre, has a culture to it that that's gonna last, and I think it's good that it's around. It's kind of like the old Hollywood movie, monster movie culture with Frankenstein and all those. I think that's a part of that culture.
There's going to be an audience for it. I know that, but it's just when you see like a preview or something for one of those same movie that come out, like you're not going to tend to get excited for it, right? And like you're not going to call your friend and say, "Hey, let's go see that Halloween movie." Like, I didn't see the first 5 of them, or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, is it going to be anything different?
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, so it's like the excitement factor there, like you said. Social media tends to ruin it. It's just the wow factor, the storyline, the plot. Like, I'm more for a mystery thriller kind of thing. You can add some killing into it too, but you need to put some kind of backstory into it too to catch my eye.
I think as older viewers, like we're a bit more skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
I think the horror movie genre, the suspense genre, is still probably especially for teenage viewers.
Yeah.
For like young people who haven't had a lot of experiences, they only know what they're told by their parents. They haven't really had a lot of traumas. And for that generation of people, for that age bracket, it's always going to be like a really entertaining opportunity to see, like, who got freaked out at the movie, or, wasn't this scary? Or, it was kind of like a conditioning thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like, when we were teenagers, I think we had more interest, but like as adults,
That's
like,
true. I think
now we're done with it.
Yeah, because it's probably old to us, but new to some teenagers. Like, hey, have you seen this new Halloween movie? Like, oh no, there's other ones. Like, oh cool, so I'll probably go check out the other one before I see this one, right? So
like I'm pretty not interested in most horror things in general, but like if an Evil Dead comes out, I'm like, yeah, I want to watch that because I know the production values, I know the goofiness, I know it's a good time, and if I see something that makes me get that feeling, then like I want to watch it, not because I want to get scared, but because I just like the idea of like grotesque sort of like movie production and over the top like Tokyo Gore Police or like even like Train to Busan, I thought was pretty interesting.
I thought that was interesting too.
Kingdom was a really cool one because then you had like this Korean take on zombies. It was like in classical Korea, and like that was pretty fun. But like I'm definitely not watching it, so I'm like, because I want to be scared. Like I'm definitely past that point.
Yeah. Just to see what it's kind of like. It's sometimes different is better too. Like it's not your typical stuff.
Yeah, these, I think as grown adults, the scary things are like, how much do I have to pay on this bill here?
Yeah, right. that's more scary.
That's what scares me these days.
Yeah. But that's probably just gonna wrap up our video about movie genres, horror. So we'll do a couple more after this. I think there's gonna be some comedy ones and action ones. So just our take on certain type of movie genres that we have. But
and we know you have your favorites. So if you have any favorites, then we encourage you to put those into the comments. If you agreed with us on some of the things, put that in the comments as well. Also, you can look for us on Twitter at Nerds and Nonsense 1. And be sure to like and follow our material.
Yeah, we're also on Facebook as well. We're gonna work on getting other social media stuff out too. But like if you guys have certain movies or genres, horror genres that you guys like, or maybe if you guys disagree with us, that's fairly fine. Say something in the comments. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for nerding out, turn nonsense, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, see you guys.